There's one member, Nancy has her hand raised. Okay, Nancy, you can go ahead.
Hang on, Nancy, I'm so sorry. I just need to read the rules about public comment. There are two opportunities for public comment during our meeting. We welcome public comment at our meetings. When speaking, we ask Nancy that you state your name and your address. We ask that your comments be limited to 3 minutes in order to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak. Please speak on one topic per public comment session. Please do not identify individual staff members or students by name. The board is very happy to hear from our community, but because this is a business meeting, it should not be expected that the board will respond. Neither public comment period is a time for public discussion. If necessary, the community member will be contacted for follow-up. If you would like to have your comments read, please add them to the chat, not in the question and answer part of Zoom. And with that, Nancy, you have the floor.
Okay, first I want to make sure, can you hear me? Okay, so I'm Nancy O'Brien. I live on 49 Conestoga Drive in Madison, obviously. And I am here to speak on behalf of the hand football team and the proposal that has been presented for in-house tackle for this season. Really, basically, all we're looking for is to get our equipment to practice against ourselves in scrimmage. We don't have much of a season left. We want some kind of a season for Team 50, which is who we are this year. The players in the past, they had 49 years of real seasons in a team, and we have a brotherhood that these boys just need to play and be a part of a team, and we just don't feel very supported as a whole for a football team by the administration, by the town, or anything. We sort of feel that football's been forgotten about, a little bit swept under the rug. We have to hear about all the other fall sports that are being supported daily and being played, and now we hear the band is actually going to be playing and performing, and we just want that opportunity for our boys. They've had an emotional year between what has happened in the beginning of the year with our coach and now the pandemic, and they've done nothing but comply, and we just really feel for them. And I know they want to speak up and speak for themselves. I know they're on the line now. And that would be our captains, Will Flanagan and Ryan Bordieri, if they are able to chime in and say something. I don't know what to do from here.
Go ahead.
Hello, can you all hear me?
I can. Just
All right.
your
So,
name and your address, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, 8 Thames Way.
Ryan Bordieri.
I'm Ryan Bordieri too. So yeah, COVID has it's taken away a lot from me, especially as a junior, take away my lacrosse season, 3rd trimester. Also for the football team this year,
15th year.
it has taken away our whole season. Obviously we got canceled and now we're doing limited practices without any pads, and it's just not the same as a regular season as in the past.
We're following protocol.
We're following protocol with all the COVID rules, and I think that we should get a fair chance to play because we've done everything with the rules, and it's just kind of not fair to just sweep us under the rug and for us to not have a season. And because now we're doing limited practices, and now that there's 77s with just about half of the team, certain players don't even get to play. Like the linemen are just doing competition drills, which is not even close to what real football is. And I know that certain COVID rules are not allowing that, but I just feel as if we need as a team to have a season.
And thanks for sharing.
Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, Ryan. Are there any other members of the public that would like a chance to speak?
Katie, Will Flanagan has his hand raised. Go ahead, Will.
Thank you, Will.
Yeah, you can hear me? All right. Yeah, so I'm just here to reiterate what Ryan Bordieri was saying, or actually, before I start, yeah, Will Flanagan on 491 Warpus Road. Yeah. So I'm just here to reiterate what Ryan was saying. Basically, we've just been playing, the same group of friends have been playing for since 4th grade, so 8 years now. And we've been just doing it. We've been doing our thing for 8 years, and we've just been working up to our senior year. And now we've been completely compliant over the whole summer, doing what the state's asked us. We've been wearing masks, staying 6 feet apart, not really getting into what football, like the real football, what it should have been this fall. But, that's whatever. Yeah, I know it makes me sad, but like you got to live with the COVID regulations. And we've been doing all this in hopes of playing. And then really all we've been asking for is just a couple games and the pads to play some football with our friends. Like we're just staying within our town. We've been doing this for the last couple months. We don't really see why that can't happen. That's really all I came to say. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any, I see 3 hands raised, Wendy. Are those the 3 that spoke already?
We have one, I can't tell the name. It's Terry, I just unmuted them.
Okay.
Um,
If you could just state your name and your street, that would be helpful.
It's Mike Testa, 47 Hall Road.
Yep.
So,
Thank you, Mr.
as we talk about football, I just kind of want to say that it's not 100% about the game of football. It's about what Coach Philippone and the coaches after him and Craig Semple built, okay? It's about raising young men, okay? This is what they're not getting. So we're entrusting you, the Board of Education, to take care of our children, okay? This is the most important thing in all of our lives. It's the most important thing in your lives, okay? We have about 50 to 60 players, all right? They were the same kids that went to that Friday night field, okay? And had their coach lean on them. That's what we taught them, okay? By not letting these players get together and play this game amongst themselves, following the rules of COVID, which the proposal that they put together is much better than anything that I've seen at your school. I've witnessed both soccer and field hockey, 30 kids, no masks, running around, playing the game. You say it's not a contact sport. They're up against each other, sweating, breathing heavily, the whole thing, okay? This doesn't make sense. The criteria that we're using to not let these kids do this simple thing, which is an upgraded practice, I don't understand. Okay, if we're talking about statistics, we've had 3 cases of COVID in Madison since you started tracking on your website, okay, from 0 to 19. 3 cases from March till today. Okay, what my son gets out of football is an incredible camaraderie, a brotherhood, so many things that cannot even be I can't articulate. Okay, this is a big deal. Okay, this is why you are all sitting in those seats today. We've elected you to be there, to have our children, okay, at the forefront of your mind. Okay, we're expecting you to understand what these boys need. Right now is the hardest time that our whole country has faced in bringing up young men. It's our responsibility to bring up strong young men that we can send out into the world, okay? Get up in the morning, put their pants on, and fight for days like this, for their freedoms, for their families, to eat. This is what they get out of football. It's not just tossing a ball around on the field. These kids are brothers. This is why we moved here. This is why I live here. I'm not a rich, money-making guy. I work my butt off so that I can be here for these programs. So I'm expecting everybody to understand what we're asking for. The proposal that was put up is phenomenal. It's the safest proposal that any sport has put up. I'm sure of it. I'm a little bit disappointed that we even have to have this discussion, to be totally honest with you, okay? And I expect some kind of answer very soon from everybody on this board, okay? Because it seems to me, we asked these questions, we had a discussion with the coach. Now it's a week later, there's no decision, there's no priority, there's no importance, okay? Each kid in that school is as important as each other, period. Everyone. I'm expecting you as a board to do the right thing, to look at that proposal, understand that it's safe, and let these kids get on the field so that not only can they play the game, they can grow up to be strong young men.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. Thank you.
Is there any other members of the public that would like to speak?
Katie, there's a Nancy Brake.
Okay, Nancy, you have the floor.
Hi, no, this is actually her son, Daryl Brake. I'm also a senior on the football team. And I just wanted to, have a minute to say something.
Can you just state your address for the record, please? Thank you.
400 Summerhill Road. And I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Testa, because I completely agree with all of what he just said. One of the points I just wanted to bring to the table was that the new proposal for us to play possible 7-on-7 football, we're supposed to have our first 7-on-7 game this Saturday. And it doesn't really make sense to me how we can play 7-on-7 against other teams, but not even play, tackle football with each other. We have been following all COVID regulations. We've been wearing masks to practice. We go in the weight room, we lift, we wear masks. And all we just want is a chance to play. It doesn't need to be us playing under the lights at Friday nights. We just want something. And that's all we can really ask for.
Thank you. So,
Next, in Flanagan B at Region 18.
Mrs. Flanagan?
Hi, everybody. My name's Betsy Flanagan. My address is 491 Warpus Road. I just want to thank you all for this time and for considering our boys' request. This is very hard, and I'll try to keep it together because that's what we do. It sounds silly, and I grew up in not a football family at all, really, truly. I grew up with girls, didn't know much about football until my kids started playing, and people think it's silly, and I still think it's silly that it really, truly means a lot to this family and to this town, we thought. And I know these times are crazy tough. I'm a teacher. I know what everyone's going through. If I have to ask someone to wash their hands one more time and keep their mask on, it's a tough time for everybody. I think the proposal that's been put forth is very fair. It's just asking our boys to be able to play against themselves, which they deserve to do, using the equipment that they've been issued and that we so far have paid for, paid for them to play this year. And it would just be really great if they could do that. And I kind of agree, the 7-on-7 is great and they're doing lineman challenges, that's great. It's not the same for these boys. It's not what they want to be doing. But we just really want you to consider this proposal, and we know you'll make the best decision and we'll respect what decision you all make, but just keep in mind, this is really, it's been a tough time for a lot of these kids and families who've, just worked so hard for this. We've got seniors and we've got all kinds of kids that just want to get out there and play, and they've done what's been asked of them. They've been so good, wearing their masks, keeping their distance, and we just would appreciate some consideration for this. And it has been hard, to be honest with you, to not hear any, gosh darn, we all miss Friday nights, because I would guess a lot of you probably miss Friday nights. All we hear is, soccer's playing, field hockey's playing, and everyone else is playing and doing fine. Well, to be checking on these football players would probably be a good idea. And just keep that all in mind too. So thank you so much for listening to us, and we appreciate your efforts. So thank you.
Thank you.
Katie, we have another person, Ketterer. That's the name that's showing up. Ketterer.
So if that sounds familiar to you, just say your name and your address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Bill Ketterer. You got it correct, actually. And I live 173 Old Toll Road here in Madison. And I do have a couple questions as long as comments. I think Mr. Testa was awesome, what he said. Spot on. I crossed out everything I was going to write because of that. But my question is, what are you guys going to do? I mean, there's no football for these kids to play. I mean, we know that depression's up. We know the COVID numbers are way down in Connecticut. There's only 2 states in the union that doesn't have football, and it's us in Vermont. I mean, there's other towns playing football, and now we're down to towns, and we have nothing for them to do. What's the plan? I mean, the 7-on-7's great. I'm with it. My son's a lineman, and there's not much for him. He doesn't want to play tug of war. He wants to play football. But what are you guys going to do when these kids go into even more depression? When there's going to be a problem with drugs and alcohol abuse in the town? There's nothing for them to do. Do you have an answer for me? I mean, what's the plan?
So Mr. Ketterer, I apologize, but this is a business meeting and so we cannot respond. But I will say, just for the record, I think procedurally it's important for the members of the public to know that this is an operational decision. The board really works in policy and governance, and given that this is an operational issue, we leave this up to the administration, who's working very closely with the health department, both at the state level and all of the governing agencies that surround sports. So the board is not able to make a decision on this as a board.
So what are you doing? So what are we doing here? We're just going to discuss. There's no backup plan. There's no plan B. So if you guys
Just making a decision.
there's no, and that's it. What's the plan?
Who's making the decision then?
The administration will make the decision.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
How long will it take?
Yeah. When is this? I
How
mean,
long is this going to take now? This has been 4.
I'm really sorry, but as I said earlier in the meeting, this is not a time for back and forth between the board. We will happily respond by email. If you send us an email, we have gotten the proposal by email, but we cannot go back and forth. This is not the time for that.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, Katie, Jane, it's actually Brian Bordier.
It's Jane Bordieri, 8 Things Way. I just want to, again, not to repeat what all the other parents and the kids are saying, but we appreciate being heard. We appreciate your time this evening. We hope that you take all of the things that we've said into consideration, especially these boys who've worked so hard, complying with everything. So I know you said it's the administration's decision, but I hope that you take to heart what we're saying as well. And again, keeping the boys in mind, their mental health, especially our seniors who have been dealing with SAT cancellations, getting college preps, all of these things. So again, thank you very much for your time this evening. We really appreciate it. Please keep us in this discussion going to the administration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Nancy?
Yeah, this is Daryl's father. I was just listening to you guys and, oh boy. So this is the administration you guys are going back to with what's happening tonight?
Is that correct?
Is that correct?
Hello?
I'm sorry. Yes, so this isn't considered an operational issue that happens at the administration level, correct?
I'm
They
just
have,
wondering- I'm
they
just
have
wondering
access to, you know,
Why the administration's not on the meeting then? Is
They
this
are.
really something we're supposed to be
they're-
taking seriously?
no, they are all here.
Okay.
And yep, and hearing everything you're saying. And will, I'm sure, taking it into consideration as well.
And then is there gonna be a time that there is gonna be an answer? Or is this gonna be, you're going back, okay? You guys are gonna discuss it, I understand that, but is there gonna be a time that we're gonna get an answer? Or is it gonna be too late again? By the time something's done, that there won't be a season at all? Or there won't be an answer for these guys before we get snow on the ground?
Again, we can't engage in a back and forth during a business meeting, but I know that the administration is hearing your concerns and hearing your questions. And
How about
I
just
will,
a yes
on
or no? How
behalf,
about a yes or a no? I'll be happy with a yes or no before it's too late, okay? Not to back you in the corner, but will we have an answer before it's too late? That's no time, just a yes or no.
I don't know the answer to that, so I will promise you that you will hear from the administration. I think we've been extremely responsive as a district to concerns, and this is clearly something that you've all come out tonight for and expressed your concerns, and the administration will be in contact.
Okay. Well, I disagree with we've been responsive because we are not playing football and everybody else is. So I think we're kind of last to the, to the issue here, really. But I guess we'll just have to wait until you decide to answer us. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Katie, we have another Nancy with her hand raised.
Is it me, Nancy O'Brien?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to add that if we do get an answer of no, we will all be back into the next board meeting, and we'll be on the docket so we can go back and forth. I'll make sure we get on there and we can actually have a discussion with the board with expecting answers as to why we would get a no, which I hope we don't have to do. And I'm hoping we have a yes very soon. I know Philippone has gone over it with our superintendent and our AD. And I know I sent it to everyone today, and I'm hoping you all got to look at it along with a letter that came from the heart from the whole team. And I appreciate you looking through everything, and please just consider it.
Thank you.
We have Kieran Portley with her hand raised. Karen,
Karen, you have the floor. Name and address, if you don't mind.
I think she left the meeting.
Okay.
And I don't see anyone else with their hand raised.
Well, there will be another opportunity later in the meeting if there's anybody who would like to speak later on. In the meantime, we'll move on to our student representative report. Isabel and Eric. I know I saw Eric. I'm not sure if I saw Isabel on the call. Oh, there she is. Okay, take it away.
Okay, so I think Eric was planning to go first, but if he's not here, I'll go. So
I see him. He's just muted, Isabel. There you go, Eric.
Okay, so we have the first thing that I wanted to bring up is that we have the SAT coming up next week. And then on October 17th, we also have the PSAT. We also have the new schedule change. So instead of being in school 2 days and out of school for 3, now every Wednesday we're off and on in school or not in school. So it adds an extra day that we're in school, which is very nice because now it's one less day to be staring at a computer for a long period of time. And it just makes it a better experience for everyone. Also,
You don't have to stay in it.
Excuse me? No. So then the next thing that we had was, I kind of feel bad bringing this up, but fall sports, most of them are into action. So like they said, soccer and all these different sports are into almost full swing, not with all the crowds and everything, but they're still able to play and still able to enjoy themselves. Then we also have the senior class advisors and class officers. There's rumors of them working together the past year's ones because we've not had the elections for them yet. But to create kind of like our spirit week that we usually would have at the beginning of the year, where we all dress in blue and run around the school and just have a great time. And they're trying to bring back a version of that around the end of October or beginning of November, so that we can still have that senior experience.
Alrighty, and continuing off, class officers we're holding elections like actively. So essays are due later this week, actually tomorrow. So we're going to have new class officers, and student leadership will be meeting again very soon, which will help kind of bring together the school environment a little bit more, put together a few missing pieces. And another exciting thing, which is kind of cool, it's a new online announcement system. So instead of announcements being done over the loudspeaker, they'll still be over the loudspeaker, but instead students will also get all of the announcements on their Chromebook screen as soon as they open it in the morning. So if you're at home, you get the same things that you would get in person, and you have a physical copy. So if you didn't hear part of it, you can just go and check. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting. It'll be kind of fun to have the little things back in place. And we're also working on some new ways for students to give feedback to teachers, like through surveys and different class discussions to kind of help break the ice. And the other thing is, like, this is just the big general gist. Day-to-day has gotten so much better since we've started the school year. At the beginning of the year, everything was very stressful and kind of bumpy. And now classes just flow more like a regular day. It's still definitely weird, but every week it gets a little bit better as we figure out different things for different classes, for different students. And bit by bit, we're getting back to normal. That's it.
That is really nice to hear. Just a quick question about the announcement system. Is there a way to get those announcements without having a Chromebook?
I do not know, but that'll be coming in the next few weeks.
Okay. Cool. Diane has a question for student reps.
So I was curious about when you are doing your virtual learning. I have heard from some other students, underclassmen, that they were having difficulty when they would have to, they would log into their Chrome, Google Classroom. Thank you, I got it. They log into Google Classroom and then they start live streaming when they click on the Google Meet. And then their teachers will often ask them to watch a video, which means they have to open up another window. And then they might have them open up another window to work on a document or something like that. So one of the problems that I know some of the students were saying was that the Chromebooks were being very slow, and they would, like, you know, you'd see the little thing turning and waiting for it to load. And so some of the solutions that the students had come up with was to actually have two computers. They would have one computer that they have from a parent or whatever in order to do the Google Meet, and then they would use their Chromebook for all the other work. And that way they wouldn't have that spinning, waiting for things to happen. And I wanted to know what your experience was with that, and if you've heard this, you know, amongst your colleagues.
I've definitely heard that from a lot of people, especially with GoFormative, our online testing platform. When you open a GoFormative test, teachers want you to stay on the Google Meet so that they can proctor you. But you can't load both at once. So students have figured out to solve that problem that if you leave the Google Meet and load your other page and then rejoin the Google Meet, you can still access the loaded page and work on it and be part of the Google Meet. But it's little things like that. I've heard of people using 2 computers, but for people that don't have them, teachers have been willing to let students turn off videos if like that's what's going to let them finish the assignment or participate better. So I think it's more case by case.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. Sometimes, I don't know if all the freshmen have phones, but a lot of people will set up their phone with the Google Meet and videotape themselves using the Google Meet while they're taking the quiz on their computer.
So it seems like the solution is that you're either using another form of technology, something that you have at home, a phone, another computer, or you're going to have to be logging in and logging out. I know that that was a strategy also that some of the other students had said they were doing, but one of the problems is that the teachers are saying, okay, you can log off in order to do this, but then you have to log back in, and some students are either not coming back in, or I don't know if they're having difficulty coming back in. And again, it's probably a case by case. It's just something I wanted us to be aware of and to see how, if it is really widespread or if it was limited, you know, to just the few people that I had talked to, but it seems like it's throughout. So
It's definitely very widespread. It's through every class at every grade level in the high school, at least. But I think it's like people are figuring out how to do the best with what they've got. So
That sounds like a slogan for 2020, Isabel, I'm just saying. But go ahead, Kathy.
I have a question, Isabel and Eric. Are you hearing from other students about struggles with using a Mac instead of, a lot of kids have Macs and they're having a hard time accessing the announcements in the morning or other glitches with a Mac. Have you been hearing any of that?
we don't have the online announcement system yet. That's going to be there soon. In terms of Macs, I haven't heard from a lot of people complaining about them, but I've heard of some people saying that if they weren't using the school Chromebook, sometimes it would be hard to do like the Go formative because it would say that they like were not eligible. But I think students talk to their teachers and figure it out.
Yeah, I've not actually heard of the Mac problem, but I could probably borrow one of my dad has a MacBook that I could probably borrow for a few days and try some stuff out. And I could report back next meeting, but I have not heard about that before.
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much.
And Eric, you are great for offering to do that, but I know you've got a lot on your plate too. We can figure out how to test it through our IT department. Thank you. That is going us above and beyond. Thank you both. We're moving on in the agenda to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Katie. So we have many fine educators and support staff in our district, and tonight we are honoring one from the high school. We know that a teacher's impact on student learning can last well beyond school and into adult life. Many of us have interests, hobbies, and even chosen careers because of one teacher. The University of Chicago created the Outstanding Educator Award to honor teachers who challenge and inspire their students. This prestigious award has been given and been in existence for, believe it or not, over 3 decades. Students accepted into the class of 2024 were asked to nominate an educator whose guidance has helped them along the path toward intellectual growth. Responses were received from thousands of students in recognition of educators who have positively impacted their lives. Tonight, we congratulate Daniel Hand High School teacher, Joshua Hibbard. And just now, Mr. Salutary will share a little more about Mr. Hibbard. And I don't know if he could hear you doing the applause here, but he could see it. So Principal Salutary, would you please say a few words about Mr. Hibbard?
Absolutely, it's with pleasure. And Mr. Hibbard, remember, everyone's looking at you. You're being recognized for something positive, so you should be smiling. This is a great invitation to a Board of Ed meeting, and it's certainly an honor to speak on your behalf. I could talk about Mr. Hibbard for a long time, but I chose to keep it brief because, believe it or not, he's one of the most humble people I've ever met, and he certainly doesn't want this recognition, but he's deserving of it. So I'm very proud to speak on his behalf this evening. On Monday, this past September 28th, I did receive an email from the University of Chicago stating that Mr. Hibbard was selected as the recipient of the Outstanding Educator Award. Although I was pleased to receive this information, quite honestly, I was not surprised. Mr. Hibbard, also known by his students as Profe, has been at hand since 2008. I've had the pleasure of working directly with him over the past 8 years. Profe provides all of his students with guidance while encouraging intellectual growth. Although he would not admit it, because again, he is quite humble, Profe is a student favorite. He sets high expectations and supports his students by creating incredibly supportive and genuine relationships. He cares for his students both in and out of the classroom environment. I consider Mr. Hibbard to be a leader in the building, a mentor to new teachers, and someone I trust completely. His skills and dedication are obvious within the classroom and on the field, as he's also the coach of our freshman girls soccer team. He clearly has a positive impact on our students. I consider Mr. Hibbard to be an outstanding teacher, coach, and most importantly, a truly outstanding person. Give me 1 second. He is a role model for the entire school community. It's an honor to work closely with an educator of his quality who truly cares about what is in the best interest of our students. Mr. Hibbard is truly deserving of this incredible recognition. I would like to personally thank him for always going above and beyond our high expectations. Like I said to you in an email, Mr. Hibbard, I'm very proud of you and congratulations.
Thank you all very much for this. I definitely do not want all of this attention. So just thanks very much for having me out tonight. And I am super grateful for what everybody said. So thanks again very much.
So you have a nickname kind of like Cher or Elvis, where you're known as like Profe, right? So I just want to, on behalf of the board, thank you. I mean, to receive this award on a regular year is one thing, but given all that educators are enduring this year, it's even more special. And so we are so grateful to you for all that you do for our students. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that you're all grateful for everything that all of us are doing in the classroom right now, because it's a special time. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations again, Josh.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. All right, Jean-Ann, is that?
Okay, so the next item we have is the Daniel Hand High School Advanced Placement Course Participation. And this was a presentation that was given to the last Curriculum and Student Development meeting. And at that time, we said we would bring it to the board. And so it was on the last agenda. We moved it forward to this agenda. So at this point, I'd like to introduce, and I think everyone knows, our Assistant Superintendent, Gail Darling-Hench, and turn it over to Gail.
Thank you, Dr. Patty Foote. And I want to thank the board for their understanding and allowing me to delay this presentation till this evening. Before I begin, I would like to also congratulate Josh Hibbard. He is an outstanding teacher. He promotes world travel in our schools. He has invited me on more than one occasion to watch him pilot a new assessment that we've developed in curriculum, and he is always eager to try new things and to also deepen his relationships with students while he really imparts a great deal of information to them. So my congratulations to Josh. I think he's an outstanding educator and the recognition is well deserved. I'd also like to thank Isabel and Eric for sharing their insights. I do want to add one thing before I begin the presentation this evening. To their observations and to the question regarding the use of GoFormative and the difficulty with the technology. One of the pieces that we did look at in order to look at the proctoring aspect of delivering assessments online is to see if there's another software product that we could use for proctoring. And that was problematic because of the Student Data Privacy Act that is in public schools, but not on the college level. So some tools that were successful in the college level were not ones that we could use. They are considered spyware, a lot of them. So that was not something that we could use, but we continue to look at those assessments and see how we can be more seamless in the way that they're delivered. We have developed some workarounds. I also wanted to add that Monday is a professional development day for teachers, and part of that professional development day will be focusing on using technology to deepen student engagement. We're really excited about that, and we're eager to put that professional development day to good use since we've had a good month under our belts and we're able to see where our needs are. So I'd like to share with you a piece that I started to look at after our first board meeting of the year. Really looking at not only our survey results from last spring and what the experiences of parents and students were in order to improve distance learning, but also looking at some of the feedback that we're getting, in particular from our high school students, about the amount of screen time that they were experiencing and trying to really understand where that was coming from. So one of the things that I started to do was to look at students' schedules in the high school, and looking across schedules, I started to see a huge theme that was presenting, and that was really looking at the amount of AP courses that students were taking in our high school, as well as ECE and honors courses. So I just want to share with you some data that I was able to, examine in this query. I don't think that there is any one answer, but this certainly was enlightening in terms of understanding what our students were sharing with us. So one of the pieces that I looked at, and this is solely AP, was to look at how many AP courses our juniors and seniors were selecting and participating in. And the reason why AP was of particular interest is because College Board really determines the content and the academic rigor associated with this course, and teachers must submit syllabuses in order to get AP approval and to be able to give that designation on transcripts. And there is no local curriculum that drives AP courses. They also are taught not only the standards of the AP courses, but specific units that they must cover and content. So pretty much in the program of studies, we've tried to create a level of awareness that for our students who are signing up for an AP class, it is a college level class, and it equals about 1 hour of in-class instruction, as well as up to 2 hours of homework per night. And that's not all AP courses are 2 hours of homework per night, but they range from 1 to 2 hours. So it's a significant level of challenge. Those students who are in AP courses in a traditional year, of course, experience that 1 hour of in-class instruction, not in front of a screen, but in a classroom and engaged with other learners in person. So the impact that one AP class has in a distance learning environment is profound. And if you have several, it's even more profound in terms of screen time. We do have an override process in Daniel Hand, a lot of schools do, where students and parents can request to override the recommendation to participate in an AP class. So all students can take a level of challenge that they desire. In Madison, we do not require all students to take an AP exam in order to register for AP classes, and we in Madison do not pay for the AP exam. So those are two particular pieces that are important to note. So when I took a look at this, I took a look at not only this year's experience, but last year's. So I looked at our 11th graders and took a look at last year's 11th graders, wondering how many 11th graders are taking AP courses, how many students are taking one AP course, 2, 3, and more. So this is a breakdown of 2019-20, where students registered for their course selection thinking that we were going to be in person, and of course in trimester 3, that turned into a distance learning environment. So you could see that predominantly our students, we have 74 students who are juniors who took one AP class. And then you could see there's almost 50 taking 2 and then fewer taking more than 2. When compared to this year, our 11th graders taking AP courses, the numbers jump. We now see that 44 students are taking 2 AP courses in their junior year, 27 are taking 3, 14 are taking 4, and actually now 8 students are taking 5+ AP courses in their junior year. So that's an increase of 24 students altogether that are taking more than 3 AP courses in their junior year. Same kind of query with our seniors, really looking at last year's senior participation. Now 76% of, or last year 76% of our seniors took at least one AP course. And you could see the breakdown there and the coding down at the bottom for the pictograph. We're looking at 63 of our students taking 2 AP courses, 41 taking 3, 23 taking 4, and 8 of our students taking 5+ AP classes. This was last year's data. And then this year's data, you can see that we have an increase in students taking 2 or more AP classes. So now wondering about the comparison between the 2 groups and what our offerings are. This is a breakdown of the 18 AP courses that we currently offer. The same amount of courses were offered in 2019-20 and 20-21. So the yellow bar are 11th graders and the courses that they are selecting, and the darker bars are the 12th graders. And you could see predominantly our highest end participation is in both English as well as social studies. So when we look at those 2 years together and we do a comparison, we can see that the number of courses that we're offering is the same. We could see that our student enrollment from year to year actually decreased by 43 student bodies. But our counts of students taking at least one AP class has actually gone up 3%. And the counts of seats taken in AP classes from last year to this year are 63 more additional seats. So I was definitely surprised by the data as we collected it and as we examined it. I called the College Board, or actually emailed them, and asked them what their recommendations were in terms of AP courses. And I explained to them that our students were experiencing a high degree of screen time and that we were trying to mitigate the impact of that screen time. And this is the information that Alan Bernstein shared with me from the College Board. He really said that there's research that shows once you hit a total of 5 AP courses over the course of high school, that the gains are not offset by the time and stress of additional AP taking. He further went on to talk about the ways that they've tried to mitigate the incentive to take more AP courses with our students. And they have also developed a series of 10-minute lessons from the College Board that they have distributed broadly, so students can do a 10-minute lesson for like a flipped classroom experience. However, that does not eliminate screen time and increase non-screen time. So it's important for us to continue to try to understand how we can create a better balance with our students, and how we can also look at how to make the experience of AP classes both rewarding as well as reasonable. Before I turn this over to TJ and have him explain what the high school has been doing with this information, I'd like to share that as soon as I really examined this data, that I asked Scott Cochran from Madison Youth and Family Services to meet with me, and I shared the same presentation with Scott so he could also share it with his colleagues at Madison Youth and Family Services as we go forth. So I'm going to have TJ speak about this slide a little bit, about the actions that we've taken with this information, certainly one piece of a puzzle that we're looking at in order to promote, a healthy school year for all of our kids.
Great, Gail,
Mr.
thanks.
Salvatore, Thanks.
Sure. And I appreciate the time and the opportunity. So we clearly listened to a lot of the feedback we received from students and parents and from teachers over the last trimester of the past year. And it's great when students report that it's going a lot better this year. I think our format and our approach to teaching and learning is far different in this new hybrid model in comparison to our all online experience last trimester. But one of the things that we are doing right now is we've been working with the AP teachers, and we have a lot of teachers who teach AP courses, and we're asking them to do biweekly check-ins, and if they have any concerns that they're hearing pop up with students that aren't specific to individual students, like common themes, we're asking those concerns to be shared with the guidance department. Something new this year that we just started, we had one meeting already, the next one's actually scheduled tomorrow. We developed kind of an AP focus group where we have the program coordinator in our guidance department. We have 2 AP teachers, 2 AP students. I'm on the committee as well. And we actually invited our school psychologist because she has a little different background. And we started to talk about the challenges AP courses create, especially in the all online version, which I hope we don't have to go to, but we like to plan just in case. And our discussion turned to the fact that the workload in the AP courses is not going to differ. No matter the environment, they're very challenging and rigorous courses, but we wanted to start to brainstorm options for the social and emotional support, because as Gail mentioned, the commitment to just the screen time in these courses is quite significant. And then the workload outside of the class time is even more significant. So we turned 2 students away from our meeting last time and charged them with talking with their peers who are in their AP courses, and we asked the teachers to do the same, and we asked our school psychologist to talk to some of the other support personnel. And tomorrow's focus is to brainstorm some options for the social and emotional support we could provide to students, for somewhat when we're in person, but especially if we're outside of the school building for the learning process. So I would say the first meeting was great. I kind of just sat back and listened. I will say, the 2 students who volunteered for the committee have a heavy load. One's a junior with 5 AP courses. The other is a senior taking 6 AP courses. Keep in mind, we only have 6 periods in our schedule, so every single class period is an AP course. When I asked them why, they said they really enjoy the classes, and they like the challenge. They get a little bit nervous about the workload, but at the point of our meeting a week ago or so, they were really enjoying the courses. So I do think that's worth noting. The guidance department is also doing weekly check-ins. We're reviewing student grades on an ongoing basis. We added a feature in Infinite Campus where teachers can document when and if they reach out to parents with any concerns. So if a counselor looks in the database for our student management, they can see if there's been any specific concerns that are common across any particular students. That's been working really well. Our guidance department also committed to sending monthly messages to families and students with tips and the reminders for support. And they also included a Google form link that is ultimately an opportunity for parents or students to share any concerns directly with the guidance department. And they're trying to meet any of the challenges our students are having head on early on in the school year. And again, we're mostly anticipating more of a focus on the support that's needed if we have to go to full online. When we have students in the building, similar to what Eric mentioned in his report, the more the students are in person, so that tweak to our schedule, the better off we'll be. But I think we're really trying to address needs that have been shared by students and by parents, but we're also getting as much input as possible from our AP teachers because they want these challenging courses to be really good experiences for our students.
Thank you, TJ. So I think that we learned a lot from our dive into this information, and we continue to gather more information. We just sent out surveys across the district this week for all of our parents to fill out about each student's experience in distance learning, so we could also look at that information, see where we can continue to improve. And that information, all survey information, all of the anecdotal information is certainly heard and followed up on, and we continue to grow. We're not extremely well-versed yet in a blended learning environment. We're brand new to this and we're in our first month. So we know we have a lot to learn, but also we want to respond as quickly as we can to any indications that we're seeing, and like to be proactive in that effort. So I would like to encourage everybody this evening who's watching to please fill out the surveys. They are not a waste of your time. We really do look at all of them. And we consider all that data as well as the data that we have in front of us and available to us. So any questions that we can answer for you, I'm happy to do at this time.
Diane?
You collected all that data for the AP courses. Are you going to be doing a similar thing with the ECE and the honors?
We certainly can do that. I noticed that, just anecdotally, that a lot of the kids do take a combination thereof. So I can certainly do that if that's of interest. I would guess that our ECE courses actually are quite high as well, because we do offer quite a few of them through the UConn program. So I would think it's very similar. I don't know if I can cross-reference effectively same students taking a mix of AP and ECE, but I can look at them as separate queries, and happy to do that. I think it does give us a profile, though, also of kids who are really trying to think about what colleges might be looking for as juniors and as seniors, and trying to reflect a very serious commitment to academics on their transcripts. So I think that, if I were to guess of what the motivation is, not only are the courses good, but they're also trying to make an impression in a very complex environment and application to schools.
I'm guessing it's going to be a lot of the same students doing a mix of those, and just curious as to how that will impact them as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And of course we want, I think the big difference for this year that I keep coming back to is that we're in a year of in and out environments instead of one trimester that we need to kind of make it through to the end. So the impact on students and their experience over time is something that we continue to work on through guidance and also through our own classroom practices. Going back to the idea of Josh Hibbard in the beginning of this, relationships are important.
Any other board members have any comments?
I have a question. It was regarding the question that I posed to our two student representatives about how they were using multiple technologies. And I'm just wondering, it's well and good if you have the technology at home to use in addition to your Chromebook, but if it's something that a lot of students are thinking that they need to do, or have to keep popping in and out of the classrooms of the Google Meets, like joining and rejoining in order to do the work that the teachers want them to do. I'm just wondering if there's a better way, because I don't think that we can assume, that each student will have multiple technology at home, and I wouldn't want a student to be at a disadvantage because they have to keep popping in and out because they don't have something else. Like, is there just a better approach on how to get the work that the teachers want them to do, to watch that video, to fill out that form or take that quiz, whatever, but still be visible on the Google Meet? It doesn't seem like, it's obviously not ideal, but I'm just wondering if we can, make it better.
I think making it better every day is what we strive to do. So we do have a full-time instructional technology specialist this year that has been working through problems as they come up. And we have a very active Google Classroom for teachers where we're providing ongoing training for them. And we do address things like those glitches as they come up, as well as ArtCycle met with our curriculum development committee and really gave an update on some of the technology problem solving that he did regarding the first round of glitches. That being said, you know, I don't think that everything's smooth or even, as Isabel and Eric were saying. You know, I think that the Go Formative is a new layer that we put in just so we could get some assessment information, knowing that we would be in and out of distance all year, and we really valued that. They were supposed to talk to each other a little bit better, but I think that, you know, we're still experiencing some glitches. But we'll continue to examine that, and certainly Art's involved in that as well.
And Gail and Jeannie Ann and Mr. Saiteri, if there was a student who had a technology deficit that they needed addressed, are the students pretty aware of how to negotiate that with the school?
I could jump in if that's okay. It seems like most students are, and what's been really positive is if they're not, they'll send us an email, usually from the student, sometimes from the parent, and they start in the Library Media Center for the support, which our paraprofessionals and our library media specialists are the initial contact. But then one of our tech support personnel is actually housed in the LMC. And they'll do, a lot of times with a Chromebook, it's a simple hard reset. Sometimes it seems like it's a paperweight, it's not even turning on, and they, you know, a combination of a few buttons and it does get everything up and running. But we've had to exchange a few or do some repairs, and it's been a pretty seamless process. And we even, as you can imagine, support students who have their own technology and they need, you know, to figure out the access to our Wi-Fi or something's not working. So the tech support is not dedicated only to school issued items, it's whatever the kids need. And they seem pretty confident, you know, when they're in the Library Media Center, but it has been nice when they reach out to us as well and say, I'm having this issue, how can I get some help?
That's good to know. Do we have extras if students are running into problems, or
I really can't speak to how much extra inventory there is of anything, but I can say, I can only echo what TJ said. There's also the help desk that's available online where people can ask for help, and that gets filtered to different people. Mike Ginsberg and Mike Kiefer have also been pretty active in helping troubleshoot, in addition to the resources in buildings. I will say that our ELL teacher, Mary Bessar, is also in frequent ongoing communication with families of English language learners. So if there is trouble in that regard, she's you know, looking at any language barriers in order to make sure that we're knowing about what needs are, as well as guidance too.
Thank you. And just going back to the AP discussion, I just want to first acknowledge, thank you for reaching out to Madison Youth and Family Services. I think it's so tied together, and I think that's a nice partnership as you're looking at stuff like that. But I was most surprised at the statement that the AP put out in terms of, you know, the benefit of taking more or not taking too many AP courses. Is it possible to put that statement, or does it already exist in our program of studies, so that as kids are choosing their classes for the year, that they will see something like that and might help them as they're choosing their courses for the following year?
We're actually working on the program of studies right now, and it always goes up before the board. So you will be receiving more information about that in November this year. We're a little bit behind due to everything else going on. Usually it's October, but it will be November. I'm not sure if we would put in that statement, if Alan would want to be quoted in that, but I certainly have asked him for the research study that he said showed diminishing returns after 5 courses. So I think that might be helpful for parents to have access to.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Any other board member comments? Okay.
Katie?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Tom. I missed you.
No.
Go ahead.
I'll be very quick. Again, thank you for doing this research. I wanted to piggyback on something Katie said. You know, in addition to taking a look at this interesting stat about when you start to hit the diminishing returns, do we want to somehow take a look at what parents or families are hearing from the college admissions offices, particularly now that so many have moved away from test optional, do we have an understanding exactly what our families are hearing as to what they're telling our students that they need in terms of the number of AP classes? Because there may be something worthwhile to separate sort of the myth from the fact in terms of what the colleges that our students applying to are really expecting, or at least understand what our families think that they're supposed to be doing.
Mhm. Yeah, I actually talked to our head of guidance about that, and she started looking into some aspects and found it to be an ever-changing admissions criteria.
Yeah.
So because it's so rapidly responding, like all school systems are, I think it's really hard to get your arms around, but certainly worth continuing to pursue. Because I think we do have to have a better understanding about what colleges are going to be asking.
Yeah.
But I would guess that our juniors are trying to guess what they need to be prepared to show. And that's super difficult right now.
Yeah. Probably even if they were told not to worry about it as much, they would still, it's a rat race. It's shown in the number of students who are taking the SATs. They're still pursuing these marks. For the
Yeah, I think until it gets defined differently, or there's some sort of a different common app component or question,
yeah,
that we're going to continue to be evolving around past practice, and really trying to understand what is there.
Yeah. Kudos for doing the research. No, thank you.
It was really an interesting query.
Really interesting. Yeah. Okay. Any other board member comments? Because we're moving into board member comments. Unless Jean Ann has something else. Dr. Patty Foote?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. So board member comments. I just want to first welcome back to the board table, Happy Marino. This board members may remember her from being on the board 2 years ago. Did you just take a brief break, 2 years? Yes. So 2 years ago, or no, 1 year ago, just a year. So not even a year. So boy, did she pick an interesting time to rejoin the board. We're happy to have you back. So thank you for being here. And we're going to get her right to work. The only other thing I wanted to report was I met last week with First Select Woman Peggy Lyons and Jean Fitzgerald from the chair of the Board of Finance. And we're just starting to look at budget and CIP. Other than that, I have no other comments. Are there any other board members who have comments? Violet.
Welcome back, Happy. Nice to see you. I also wanted to just recognize and congratulate Mr. Hibbert for that well-deserved award. Unbeknown to him, he's been an inspiration to my son, who to this day, it's been probably over 8 years now, speaks so fondly of his memorable trip to Spain. So I look forward to hearing more about his future trips, because he really has made a mark in my son. So a well-deserved award. He truly is outstanding.
Maybe you could chaperone.
I offered to, but my son said no.
Any other board members? No. Okay. So moving on in the agenda to committee reports, curriculum and student development. Galen.
Hi, we did not meet. Our next meeting is 5:30 next Thursday, October 15th. And welcome back, Happy.
Thank you. Communications, Emily.
Yes.
Oh, and you'll give your report.
Yep. So the Communications Committee met this evening via Zoom. We talked about the outreach from our new superintendent's appointment at our last board meeting. Zoe, our communications specialist, had put together a press release that went out during the appointment. 2 local papers picked that up. On our social media, over 700 people were reached in 24 hours. Over 300 of those engaged with the news. So great feedback. So we'll continue to be meeting with Dr. Cook as his time in the district comes closer in terms of future communications and meeting the community. We also talked about our ongoing process of reopening. The reopening inbox is no longer taking emails. Now all inquiries go directly to the schools because most of the questions and concerns are very school specific at this point. We will be sending out more reminders and notices from the districts as that approaches. So gave an update on our social media accounts. The Madison Public Schools Facebook account is now officially verified, which makes it helpful and easy for people to find. She continues to track analytics and followers to see what resonates with folks in the community. And she's found that not only is it a good way to share important updates, but also to share good news about what's happening in the schools and some real positive news. So those of you continue to keep an eye on that. We looked ahead to future communications priorities. Katie mentioned that the budget and the CIP will be on the horizon for outreach and communications, as well as our buildings and the process of a referendum in our future. We also talked about doing some outreach around communicating with school nurses in the Madison Department of Health as we enter cold and flu season in a year unlike any other, as well as doing some outreach in the future about the role of the board and differentiating between the role of the board and the role of the administration. And as we discussed a little bit earlier tonight, differences between board decisions and operational decisions. So that's sort of in the hopper for Zoe. We are going to be meeting next in December. That is the end of our communications report. I briefly just wanted to give an update from the secretary. So as you know, we do receive public comment, not only at our board meetings, but through email directly to the board, whether that's individual emails to all the board members, to the board secretary, which is me, or through our contact the board on our website. And since our last board meeting, we have heard from 2 members of the public who emailed through the contact the board on the district website. One was about wishing that we would delay their full reopening a little bit longer. And then we also did hear from a parent on behalf of the football concerns that we heard tonight as well. All of the communications that we receive, if they're sent through the website, are shared with the entire board as well as the administration. And we do encourage people to continue to reach out, whether it's at public meetings like this or through emails to the board or our contacts. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Emily. Facilities Committee, Tom Pellegrino.
Thanks, Katie. The Facilities Committee met this evening. We had 2 agenda items. One will be quick, one will be not quite as quick. First, the quick one, but important. The ongoing reopening of the schools in the district have gone well. 2 items to highlight. We were pleased to have furniture arrive and be placed in the K-3 classrooms, which was a great addition. Bill McMinn and his team are dealing with these are just normal, some wear and tear issues at both Hand and Polson with some, I believe, HVAC units. And at least with respect to Hand, Bill hopes to have that remedied fairly shortly. Getting parts for these items, like for everything else, is a difficulty in terms of the timing. So they're on top of that. But in general, so the retro commissioning has gone well. Reopening has gone well. The team, the staff has been working very hard. They're staying healthy. They're really to be commended. And as we transition to some full reopenings, Jean Ann commented that she feels very confident that the buildings are ready to receive students in these sort of additional or larger cohorts. So the reopening is going well. On the second item, as both Katie and Emily alluded to, was to take a look at the CIP plan. And I have Bill and Stacy was kind enough to join us tonight. And Stacy was also kind enough to be patient in waiting a 5-year proposal from the board. So ultimately, I'll take the board a little bit through it right now, and Bill can jump in. But ultimately, I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to have the board consider a recommendation that the Facilities Committee did make this evening for a 5-year CIP plan. This 5 years would span the time from 21-22 through to 25-26. Bill can take you through the details, but ultimately the plan extracts projects involving security, involving projects at Daniel Hand, Brown, Polson, and with athletics. And the 5-year plan that we'd like to put forward for Stacy's consumption, as well as to have in front of CIP by October 15th, which is the requested date. The total plan, project plan dollar amount would be $12,202,738. That's a lot of information to put out to the board without having some line items, but the projects themselves have been reviewed and approved already by the board. The request is to have a 5-year plan in place for the consumption of CIP. Bill, can I have you jump in a little bit and take some questions?
Tom?
Yeah.
Just before you do that, you don't have to make a motion to amend the agenda for this, but you should make a motion from the floor before we get into discussion. So you can just move the item itself.
So make a motion now from the floor to, yeah. So I would make a motion for the full board to consider the recommendation from the Facilities Committee on the 5-year CIP plan.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
You got it.
Thanks, Greg.
Now, Bill, if you would like, yeah, you're on.
Okay, before I bring the screen up and go over the numbers, I think I'd just like to go over the concept. You know, when we first the board approved it, I think a month ago, with the 396,000 for the first year, 4 million for the second year, and then some other years down. And I was asked to revisit that to see if we could flatten the numbers out and draw the 5-year plan out a little more flatter, so it wasn't so spiky the second year. We also went back and we reviewed the proposal that the board approved a year ago for the $84.5 million budget referendum that we were going to go forward with, which, you know, requires a lot more approval, but the board did approve that $84 million proposal, and some of my projects were overlapping on that because we brought back in the elementary schools. So I think we looked at it over again. I flattened out the numbers. I met with the Facilities Committee. We talked about what I thought were 2 projects or 3 projects. The safety and security, we put 75,000 in every year. The board had already approved that. That's one. The other second project, which was approved already, but I moved it in a little closer to see if we could finish it and not just do the design. That would be the construction and design of the entryway of Polson, and the same with Brown School. You know, they're in bad shape. If we spend money on those 2 schools, I don't think it'll ever be wasted money. We're always going to have those schools, and to improve the front entries of the Polson School, that's 1961, and the Brown School, that was 1970. If you go into those front entries, you can see they're in tough shape and that they need to be, you know, improved, both for different reasons. So I brought those. I recommend that we bring those up to the top of the time frame, and we look at those seriously, and we move the other ones out. I moved everything out a couple of years so we could flatten the dollar amounts. At this point, and I did leave on the high school. We did have money for planning for the lighting project, for redoing the lights in the cafeteria. We did move that out another year, but we did leave that one on closer up than the other ones. At this point, I can bring up the details and show you the numbers. I'll share that with the so I hope you can see it. It should say the first top of the line is the $75,000 for the security. Then down here is the Daniel Hand High School lighting, stage lighting. I moved out the actual project money out 1 more year to sort of balance it off. So we didn't have a lot in the first year.
Sorry, Bill, can you make that bigger? I can't read any of that.
Yes, I can. I figured that out.
You practiced. I'm impressed, Bill.
Yeah,
Is
so I'll
this
go back
in our
to the-
packet, Bill?
It is not.
Okay.
We modified this today. We've been working on it every day to try to be able to bring you something that we all felt comfortable with. So I just made the modifications this afternoon, and I'm happy to email it to you. But you know, we met today twice to fine tune it. So is this big enough?
Ah, that's better.
So the first number is the 75,000. This is this year's proposed 21-22. As you can see, we already put the 25,530. I met with TJ. We're talking about putting together a committee with his staff to come up with a stage lighting replacement. It worked really well with the sound system. The users got together. It was very successful, and I think that they're very happy. They were part of the selection. I want to do the same thing with the lighting. So, and it really, we haven't had time to put that together with the COVID. We're all focused on the school and education. We really put it on the back burner. So I don't think it hurts us much to put it off because we're really not focused on that right this second. So I figured that would be okay to put it off a year. The next projects were Polson. Here, it's the front entry modifications and the sidewalk replacement. The whole entry and sidewalk I'd like to bring up to today's standards. In the layout of if you've been in the office, the layout doesn't work very well. You can't really see out the front. So I expect that to be, you know, a successful project. The lockers, we did push the lockers off only because we're not really clear on what's going on. But we did have the money and we have done a design. I think we're close to finalizing it, but we're not ready to use the lockers. So I pushed that back out. That's all I had for Polson for next year. The Brown School, same thing. I did the entrance. You can see at the entrance modifications. Same with the, you know, I call it the courtyard. If you've been at Polson, you can see there's like plantings. And if you ever voted there, you got to walk through this really beat up area that needs to be improved. You know, we keep patching it together and making it acceptable, but I don't think it, I think it needs a significant rebuild. The sidewalks are in very tough shape. You know, they're acceptable, but they need to be improved. They haven't been improved since 1970. The next project, I removed the Jeffrey and Ryerson from the projects because that would be covered in the 84 million that we're proposing. And the athletics programs, we move those out everything a couple of years to balance it off. The bottom line, this is the number that we have approved for the budget, the $415,201. I proposed that from the $396,000 to $568,016. The next year would be 596. The following year is 2.7 million, and the next year is 2.6. Now, once we get out a little farther after 2 years, 3, 4, 5, I expect these numbers to change every year and to revisit them, especially once we visit the, you know, the new school and what we're going to do. You know, the buildings need to be looked at and addressed in a big way. I think that we're not ready to talk about that. These improvements, I think, are reasonable. I think that they will make reasonable improvements that won't be wasteful money. Any questions?
Yeah, Tom and Bill, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So it appears from what I'm seeing that this is the same thing that we've seen a couple times now, just with a few moves. And some of that, Bill, as you described, is the flattening, which is a process we've gone through a number of times. And some of it is adjusting what we are proposing in 21-22, but we are not changing really substantially the amount of what we're proposing in 21-22. Am I right about that?
21-22 did increase from the 396 to the 568. And so, yes, you're 100% correct. These are all the same projects. We just moved them around to different years, and I moved most of them out. And I removed some of them because they were in twice. They were in the last CIP project, and we didn't really address the stuff that was already in the $84 million project. So I removed those. I had them in twice. So yes, they're all the same projects. We just moved them around a little bit, trying to figure out what we could move forward with that made sense, even if we do a brand new school even if we do major renovations to any of these schools, we'll still, I think we're still making progress, improving the buildings, and something that will never change. With the front entries, I don't think we're going to change the entries. They need to be improved. So, yes.
That's helpful. And my only other question is, this continues to be the short version, I'll call it, of the 10-year plan / 5-year CIP plan. It doesn't have Jeffrey, and it doesn't have a number of other things in it that are all part of the potential referendum, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thanks. That's it. I just
I
want to
think that was, Greg, that was the challenge, I think, for the committee was, sorry, there's an echo, trying to address what needs to be addressed, but also not double counting things that would be in a referendum.
Right. And I'm simultaneously trying to determine, because I know we're seeing this just tonight, but it appears that there's not a lot of new information here. It seems that the Facilities Committee has just sort of settled on a lot of what we've been talking about over and over.
We just rearranged the projects. We actually removed one, the bottle filling stations was ADA bottle filling stations in the school. We wanted to do them all. I had the capital, we took that out because I'm trying to find the money. We're putting one in every school. We need to do the bottle filling stations. So whatever needs to be done in the elementary schools or any of the schools, we're trying to move forward with those within our budget or within our planned and cycled maintenance to get things done that have to be done. So there's only one project that was removed. All the other ones are the same.
Thanks, Bill.
Can you scroll that back the other way so I can see the
Yes,
top of it?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Switch the view.
So we have Polson and Brown. These are the Brown projects. And I can zoom in on those. Keep going. Polson. And then we have the Hand. And you can see I moved most of them out. I do more of a, it's more of a 10+ year plan. In my plans, if we put a new roof in 2016, I know it'll last 25, 30 years. It's on my plan. So I just put it all together. But what we sent to CIP is a 5-year plan.
So what is the highlighted in red?
The highlighted in red, it's what was already approved. And I was using that as a calculation because the spreadsheet didn't automatically calculate it. So it was like a note to myself. I should have changed it back to black.
So those were planning dollars for the stage lighting replacement that was in the CIP last year.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
That whole column is last year.
Correct. That whole column is last year, already approved, already budgeted for.
Yeah.
So that's my question, actually. Is it the same amount for next year that we put in, that's already in the CIP? So that 400 and whatever thousand it is that how much is currently in the CIP for next year? Or
No,
is
see,
it a
that's
different
already
amount?
approved and in the budget right now.
It is, okay.
That's in
what
the
I was asking.
account. I can go through what we spent this year to date. This money we have not touched. It shouldn't have been red. I just was, when I was messing with it, I wanted to remember that the calculation was correct. That's the amount that was approved.
And Bill, if I remember right, I think it was a question that the committee had because we had said, well, wait, now we have the planning dollars and we're not gonna move forward with the project. And so it's helpful to know that we are already invested in this project with the planning dollars. So at some point in the 5 years, you would imagine we would take action and actually finish. Go ahead, Diane.
My question is, I thought we had discussed the stage lighting replacement and thought that we were holding off on that because we're not even using the stage because we're not even having plays or anything like that. But we're still going to do it?
Well, it won't be done for 2 years. So hopefully COVID
timing
will be a
question.
thing of the past. Yeah.
Yeah, so that it's the 3rd year out. This is the first column is what we have funded. The second column is what we're proposing to fund. And the third column is, 2 years out. So we definitely aren't going to start it. The only thing that we may do is start doing the planning of it if we do come back full time and the COVID's over and we do lighting and stuff there. What will our plans be? But we haven't even put a committee together or started. I mean, if the board wants us to hold off, we surely can. We have not spent any of the money or made any commitment to.
I don't know if it's entirely clear, just to Diane answer this as well, from having sat on facilities for a long time, or what seems like a long time, I guess. What the CIP asks for is sort of 5 years and sort of 1 year. So they want 5 years. So the columns that you see that say 18, 19, 20, 21, and the one after that, those are what we're going to present, or what the CIP reps will present to CIP. But really all they're going to vote on is the year that says 18 years. And they just want to have a heads up about what's coming. So that's why it's there, even though it's not really there. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Okay.
One of the things Jean Fitzgerald explained to me when we met last week was CIP, the idea of it is it's a planning document. It's a planning tool. So they don't want people coming every year with a wish list. They want it to be a way to plan for the future. And so this gives us a head start in that. But we're only budgeting for the next fiscal year when we go to referendum in May.
So I have another question. I'm sorry. So I'm looking at the roof replacement of Daniel Hand, and I see it's pushed like way out. And then it goes from like 182.4 to 3 million. So is that like the planning and then the actual doing?
That is correct. The roof was done in 2003. We expect the roof to last at least 25 years, could even last longer. So the first year is the design, finalizing and updating the cost. And then, the next year would be the actual construction. So.
And I know you've been working on the HVAC, the fans on the roof, that it's not gonna like that's not gonna damage the roof where we would have to move that up.
No, the rooftop units are big. They're about as big as your garage. They're small garages and they're in a big unit. They're built up on top of the roof. So you open them up and you climb in. So the working on the roofs should not, working on the rooftop unit should not be any kind of damage. We actually even have walking pads where the guys are supposed to walk and work, and they know what they're doing. And I don't think we've had any problems with that.
Diane, I think that's an awesome question. And the numbers, if you see the project, the numbers 31582, all those numbers in the third column, those are kind of sequencing numbers. And one of the things that they really looked at when they developed the 10-year plan is that sequencing, so that we're not putting a new roof on and then tearing it up to do another project. So all those numbers play into that in terms of when the projects get done. So hopefully we won't run into that kind of problem where we spend money on something and then have to tear it up to do something else.
And you wanted to work on the entryways of Paulson and Brown. Is that correct?
That is correct. So here's Polson right here, the entry modifications, interior as well. And then the entrance to the sidewalk and replace the exterior. So my plan is to rearrange part of the office and the entry to the main building and the sidewalks.
So my question is, does any of that have to do with security, or is that all like cosmetic?
So when we do the upgrades, we will definitely improve the security. And when we do anything today, we'll meet this new standard. So we will definitely increase the security of the entranceway when we do that. But the main goal is to, improve the entrance and, make it today's standards. ADA, security, all those things will be addressed and improved.
Is there funding available for that, Bill? State funding if we improve our security?
I'm not aware of that. And the grants and stuff that come through change all the time. So, by the time we pull the trigger on the project, if we have some or know of some, we will definitely apply, but I'm not familiar with any.
Okay, thank you.
On P.
Any
The
other
only
questions?
other point I'd like to make is the high school, I think that the stage and the lighting and the use of that facility I think is highly used. I mean, I just don't think I can downplay that enough. And I know that it's a highly important, it's a very important thing to the school. I know we heard about the sports, but I think they're as passionate about the use of that stage as they are about the sports.
Could you scroll down some more? I'm sorry.
Yes, I can definitely scroll down. I'll go down to Brown School. And I can zoom in too. I figured that out. So if there's this particular area you want me to zoom in so you can see better, I can definitely figure that out. You can see the Brown School roof is on there as well, but it's pretty far out. I even have the playground improvements because, you know, they don't last forever and we just replaced them, but 2030, I don't think I'll be here, but it's on the plan.
So the front entry courtyard renovations exterior, that seems
here.
to me to be cosmetic.
It's more than cosmetic. We will definitely improve the sidewalk. You know, there's definitely potential trip hazards there that will improve. We'll definitely improve ADA compliance with the doors. We'll definitely improve security. You know, there's been a plan. I don't know, it's right outside the cafeteria right now. You know, if we had people hanging out there, they're not very protected. So we've looked at putting planters that would be a barrier so cars couldn't jump the sidewalk and, you know, get up to the school. So I expect us to improve the appearance, ADA compliance, security, and just, you know, better use of the area. So I think it's going to hit all the bases when we do the improvements.
Bill, whether Brown is 4-5 or K5, this
It won't matter.
Either way.
Yeah, it won't matter. If you've been up there like I have and you look at the sidewalk, you know, it's acceptable, but barely. I mean, you'll look and see the cracks that I filled. You'll see holes in the sidewalk that I drill a hole and I put a slurry under there so I can raise the sidewalk so I level it off so it's not a trip hazard. You may not notice that, but I do, and you can see the cracks in the holes. It's safe, but you know, it definitely needs to be removed and replaced in total. But
And I think that was one of the hard things about this, Greg, was that you know, there's also going to need to be modifications to the building if this building becomes a K and above school, but those are not in this plan because they were pulled out to hopefully be part of a referendum, if that's, you know, what ends up happening. But regardless of that, that school is likely to stay online no matter what happens. And so doing this, the facilities committee felt like that they would still be getting their money's worth.
And Bill, I know you know, you can see it right in the first column, the parking lots were already funded and that's been engaged. That will work smoothly with whatever you're looking to modify in the entrance.
So I'm glad you brought that up. It came in on time, under budget, and with the help of John Yanako and the town public works department, you know, they basically managed the project for me under a state contract. Tilcon Tomaso came in, you know, not as cleanly as we'd like. We got a little delayed, but I mean, it looks great. I don't know. I know exactly what it used to look like. And when I go up there now and there's grass behind the curbs and the pavement, it's nice and smooth. I mean, that is one of the more successful projects that no one really cares about other than me. I couldn't be happier with that project. It worked out great. We worked great with the town off the state contract. I mean, to me, that was one of my biggest successes, but no one really cares about paving and parking other than me. And, you know, we put a lot of stuff under the pavement too. So if we ever have to repower the lines and we have to put power across the pavement, we got lines, we got piping underneath the driveway, so we don't have to dig it up ever. So pretty excited about that job. It came in on time, under budget, and I think it was hugely successful.
It's getting a lot of use right now at pickup and drop off. But it works. My question is mostly that flows right into what you're planning with the courtyard. There's not going to be any redo of the paving because of what you want to do for the entrance, right?
That is correct, 100%. We paved right up to about where we're going to start with the new courtyard. We stopped the paving because the paving went right into that handicap ramp where people come into the building in the handicap parking spots and the drop-off area. So we stopped right where the sign is, right just past the sign, and we'll pick up from where we stopped the pavement, and we'll pick it up and we'll place the concrete sidewalk and redo that whole section right to the doorway.
I'm sorry, I have another question. So I'm
No
looking.
problem. Ask questions. I like answering questions. It's no problem for me.
So I'm noticing that, like, granted, it's 8 years down the road, but the same year that you're doing the $2 million roof replacement, you're also doing the 3 million auditorium update. And I don't know, what else falls in this column in the other schools, but it seems like to have everything in 1 year might be a big ask.
No, I agree with you 100%. And the auditorium just got pushed out arbitrarily. What year should we do that? And, is that a practical thing? Is it going to be acceptable? Those are things we should be doing and considering. They're on my plan. When it gets out to year 29, 30, that's just an estimate. Hopefully the roofs will last longer than that and we can push that out maybe 2 or 3 more years. Those kind of things, you need to make the judgment when you get closer within 3 years. The roof at Brown School, when I first came here, wasn't scheduled for 5 or 6 more years. And I'm like, it doesn't matter when it's scheduled. The roof is not adequate. We need to change the capital plan because the roof failed sooner than we planned. This roof hopefully will last longer and I can push that out. So those are planning ideas. They're definitely not when we're going to do them.
So I guess my question then for Tom is, like, when we're voting on this is like a for now plan that is adjustable later? Is that okay?
That's correct. That's correct. That's
And
correct.
the only thing we're voting on is this number right here, the 5,
Year
6.
one.
And we vote every year on this
Right.
basically at this point.
Right.
And-
So we're
and-
really just voting on year one.
That's not, just to be clear, that's not the motion. The motion is that you're voting on the 5-year recommendation, right?
Which
Right.
includes the 568. Yeah, Stacy is expecting a 5-year proposal plan. The short plan, as Greg, I think, accurately described it. So
Yeah, if I could clarify, I think the answer is yes, you're working on a 5-year plan. I expect it to change next year when I bring it to you. It's not going to be the same exact plan. The same projects will be there, but they might adjust. But we're going forward with the budgetary numbers for just the first year. The CIP will have a 5-year plan, but we're only going to support and sanction, the 568,000.
So in year 5, that big number is coming from the high school field inside track. Where is the big number coming from for the 4th year? Because that's at 2.7 million.
Oh, yeah. So those 2.7, I know exactly where they're coming from. I believe they're coming from Polson. Right there they are, right there. So Polson, see doors and hardware and bathroom ADA modifications. That's 2.3, 2.5 million right there. So the ADA compliance, and the bathroom hardware, those are big numbers. Those rooms are 1960. We're gonna have to replace all the doors, modify the bathrooms from 1960. Are they adequate? Are they working? And do we have ADA compliance in some of the bathrooms? Yes. But we're talking about renovating 1960 plumbing to today's standards and making the bathrooms all much nicer. That's big money.
Thank you.
And I don't know if we could do that all in one summer. We might have to break that up. And, although I believe it's a good plan, I don't believe sitting here right now today that I could commit to doing that 3 years from now. I think we might adjust that a little bit when we get closer.
Okay, I think I got all my questions. Thank you.
No problem.
Questions?
thanks, man.
Happy to answer any question you have.
Anybody else?
Stacy, I don't know if you're still with us, but did we miss anything?
I was trying to talk. Can you hear me now, Katie?
Yes, I can. Now I can't. Come back to me.
She's showing us mute.
There you
All
are.
right, so now I'm on my computer and my phone right now. So if I echo, that's why. So if I can just speak on behalf of the CIP and what the document will look like and how the Board of Ed will be presented, there will be 2 line items in the CIP document. One will be for the referendum project, which is the 84 million that we all know what is included in there. The numbers, eventually will be modified because it is a year out now and escalation costs will come into play, but we can talk about that later. The second line item in the CIP will be representing this 10-year document that Bill has been sharing. So included in the first 5 years of this 10-year document will be that $12 million, which is what Tom is proposing for your agenda item tonight. Year 1 includes about 493,000, which is already included in the 84 million. So we want to have a little disclosure in there that those ADA and front entrance modifications to Polson and Brown is a little bit of an overlap, but we'll talk about that during the discussions in CIP. Right now, what our goal is to submit the 5-year proposal for this 10-year plan. We'll get that in the document. It'll go through the committee, which is due, as Tom said, to the committee by October 15th. And then we'll have discussions, after that. So if you do move forward with future discussions on the referendum proposal, that'll be part of the whole CIP presentations, as well as moving forward to the boards through the budget presentation. So I just wanted to clarify that there will be 2 line items in the document for CIP. 1, the 84, number 2, the first 5 years of this 10-year plan. Again, Katie explained that this is a planning tool. Nothing is set in stone in years 2 through 5. Really, we're looking at year 1. It's going to come up quick. July 1st will come up quick, and that's when the funds will be available for the 568. The other years are subject to change. Anything can happen in years 2 through 5, and we know that. It's really just a planning tool, and just knowing, this is what we think is going to happen, and it will definitely change. Just one other note, based on last year's presentation, we did put a plan B. This would be a plan A. Plan B would be, what if the bond referendum did not pass? And knock on wood, it will, but what if it didn't? There will be in the document the original 100 million 10-year plan that we'll have to fall back on. And that will be in the document. It will be part of the discussions. And it will be transparent throughout the whole entire CIP/budget process. So I just wanted to clarify that there is a plan A, which is the 84 million referendum project, this plan that Bill's presenting tonight, and then plan B will be the alternative 10-year plan that you approved over a year ago. I'm not sure if there's any questions or you need me to clarify that at all.
The only thing I have a question about is I'm not seeing how these 5 years add up to 12 million. When I do this math, it adds up to like 6 million.
So I apologize for my haste. See where it's grayed out? The
Yeah.
6.6 plus the 1.6 plus
Oh,
the
it's the
2.7.
6.6. Okay, that's where I was missing. Got it.
So I needed to, yeah, that's 6 million. I was doing the same calculation just a second ago. I'm like, hey, wait, it doesn't add up. Then I realized I didn't have the columns highlighted correctly. It's what happens when you do it at the last minute. You don't put enough eyes on it. And I know I did the calculation right. I just forgot to highlight it correctly. Good catch.
And what Bill said before to support that, the 415,201 is what was approved for this current fiscal year. So that has nothing to do with the next 5 years.
Yeah,
So the
that was
12
just,
million starts at the 568 and moves out to the 6.6 million.
Okay, I think we
Can-
may
can
have
you-
lost Stacy.
I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here.
you're back.
You did freeze. Did you have a question or?
I don't,
No, I
any other
think we-
questions?
Can you email this to us though, so that we have it?
Yeah, it's also online, Diane, and it's
Oh.
kind of neat because you can click on the first column and it will explain to you how they arrived at that number. And so it's definitely, as a new board member, something fun to play with. I think those of us who've been on the board, have seen it over and over, and we've talked about it ad nauseum. But it's definitely worth your time to explore it. And certainly bring questions to the facilities committee. or
So
Bill.
I will email it to the board tonight if that's what you choose. I don't think we've gotten it up online because I just put it together today. So it's not up. This one's not. The other one is, and all the projects are the same. So if you look at the other one that's online, you can see all the projects and you can see where it clicks and it goes to each project. So I will definitely email it out tonight, and we will put the updated one on the website. But there is one there that shows the similar projects.
Great. If there's no other questions, that does conclude the committee report itself. Greg, just in terms of process, so the motion is on the floor. The committee did approve the 5-year proposal that we just went over, subject to the full board's approval. Do we field that now, or do we wait until after committee report's done?
The motion is open, so you would take votes before we conclude.
Okay, Katie, I'll hand it over to you.
Sorry, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Stacy.
Yes, thank you, Facilities Committee. Finance Committee. Oh, I did not meet. Personnel Committee.
So the Personnel Committee is in the final phases of negotiation and will present their conclusions shortly. End of report.
Thank you, Violet. Policy Committee, Greg.
We have no report, but there are 4 items for action later on the agenda. It's exactly what I described at the last meeting. I will reiterate that there are 2 things that are at their third reading, I guess, at this point, because we went back to the table one more time to edit. And then there are 2 things that are just modifications from Shipman based on COVID protocol. So there are existing policies that have had additions that you have in your packet. If we choose, we would take up the waiver of those readings. So we have to go get a 2/3 majority to waive the readings on those if we choose to do that. And that's the end of the non-report, I guess.
It was a report. Let's see, Learn Liaison.
We have not met. There's no report. We meet this week.
Okay, and there is no selectman report tonight. Is there any audience response to the information presented? Again, I'll just reiterate, we welcome your public comment. We limit public comment to 3 minutes. When you do speak, please state your name and your address for the record. And unfortunately, being a business meeting, we are unable to respond, but we'll try to address your concerns via email and the appropriate channels. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak?
I don't see anyone, Katie.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Consent agenda. I need a motion to approve. A motion to approve the budget expenditure as of October 1st, 2020. Motion.
You need a motion for the full consent agenda in this case.
I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
So moved.
Second. I'll be second.
Oh, okay. Diane. Discussion?
I actually have a couple questions. I'm sorry, I'm full of questions tonight. So on the expenditures, well, I guess let me start with the line item transfers. I understand that the line item transfers are sort of a net zero. You're moving something from somewhere else to cover something else. But I guess my question is that once we run out of the funds to cover the transfers, then it would start showing up in the expenditures. Is that correct?
So the line item transfers are typically from one expenditure to another. In the beginning of the year, since we developed the budget 18 months ago, we're kind of realigning all of the expenditure line items. And I know you had some specific questions on a few of the line item transfers. One was regarding just adjustments regarding staff members on leave. So we had to find funds from another line item and move it to that line item. So it really is just a reconciling item that you will see probably over the next month or so of just kind of putting people in the right spots, the right program, or the right schools, Polson, Brown. So this is a typical beginning of the year, school year line item transfer item. Hopefully we'll be able to find line item transfers within all of our salary accounts throughout the year. If not, you will know sooner than later if we can't cover them.
Thank you, Stacy. And then my other question was, and I was just looking at the numbers. So, so number 51320 overtime, if you look at what the revised budget is and what the year-to-date expenditure is, we've already used 35% of that. And so, and the one below it about custodial casual labor, that's about 25% used as well. And so I'm wondering, is this going to be covered by the money we're hoping to get to cover COVID?
We are hoping so, yes. We still haven't heard final word about reimbursement, but we will try to cover any of the overtime, any of the salary lines within the current salary lines. Just so you know, if you look at the percentage at this point in time, it's not an actual expenditure percentage because we encumber through the end of the year, especially for substitutes. So we'll encumber through June 30th, even though we only paid through October 1st. So we show the expenditure for the entire year, but it's not an actual only 2-month expenditure, if that makes sense.
Okay. And then did we get an answer about, or not an answer, do we know if, I'm looking for 57304 computer hardware. I'm assuming that's the Chromebooks. Do we know if we're going to be able to use the COVID money to cover that?
Okay, I didn't get a question about this year, so I apologize. I don't have that in front of me. If there's a specific question, please forward it to me. The Chromebooks, the bulk of them for the 1v1 was in last year.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not exactly sure what you're looking at this year, so I apologize. I don't have that in front of me, but just email me any specific questions and I can certainly find out the answers. We're still waiting for answers from FEMA. Hopefully FEMA is going to reimburse us for 75%. OPM through the CARES Act is supposed to reimburse us for the 25% left over, as well as as you know, we have the CRF funds through the ESSR through the education side, which we got approved for about $725,000 that we'll be able to ask for reimbursement for this year. So we're hoping, you know, I will definitely update you on what we spent so far next time, or at least through finance, what we spent so far and what our reimbursement looks like. Everything right now is still up in the air as far as reimbursements. We're still working on last year for March through June and waiting to get some kind of response from the feds on that.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Because I was
You're
just
welcome.
noticing, how much we had spent on the overtime, and since we're going back to school more now, we don't have the Wednesdays where at the high school, well, we don't have Wednesdays anywhere. Everybody's going to be full in K-8, and Wednesdays was a cleaning day. I know some people had expressed some interest over that, but I know it was like regular cleaning. They were doing deep cleaning every day. So I guess I'm wondering if on Wednesdays, now that the students are in the building, then would there then be more weekend overtime cleaning occurring, and then we would expect these expenditures to be even more?
Yeah, what overtime line item were you looking at, Diane?
I'm here as well, Stacy, if you want me to answer that.
I was looking at 51320 that says overtime, and 51321 that says custodial casual labor.
So both there, I don't know which one's the overtime. Most of those are mine. I know the casual labor is mine. We definitely hired student helpers, both college students and high school students, that we definitely have been utilizing, and we definitely are using overtime. It's the beginning of the year, although we are using it pretty heavily. I didn't really do an analysis yet. It's, sort of wait to see. I don't want to come and ask for money or move money out of one account into another until I'm ready. I think the need is, I believe that I will have to move funds over to cover more overtime expenses, but that's just an estimate at this point and not a hard plan.
I think too, if there are other specific questions about specific line items, that would be awesome if you could email them to Stacy and copy the committee on that, so they can maybe formulate a presentation at the next finance committee meeting.
That would be great. We'd be happy to do any analysis. And as Bill said, everything's so premature, but we can certainly tell you what's happened and what we're projecting as far as reimbursement so far.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Oh, Happy's going to abstain. Motion carries. I need a motion to approve $1,983.14 from the Jeffrey PTO to the Jeffrey Elementary School for a school-wide subscription to Scholastic Magazine for the 2021 school year.
So moved, Diane.
Second?
Second, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Discussion?
I'm going to steal Galen's thunder and say thank you to the Jeffrey School PTO, as always, for their donations. And shameless plug, find your favorite Jeffrey School student and order your frozen Thanksgiving pies for the fundraiser today.
Not shameless at all. We're happy to help. And thank you to the PTO. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve policy 3541.5, transportation.
So moved, Diane.
That's all you need.
It does not need a second
No.
because it's out of committee. All in discussion.
I'm sorry, I have something to say. Oh, you guys are hating me tonight. I'm sorry. So I've read through this policy like quite a few times, and I have to say that my issue, of course I have one, is on the walking mileage for the grade. So as it is reading in the policy now, it's grade K is a half a mile, and 1 to 3 is 1 mile, and 4 to 8 is 1.5 miles, and 9 to 12 is 2 miles. So I know that personally, I'm very bad with knowing distances. So I sort of did this Google map thing. And so bear with me, I'll be really quick. So let's say you start at the athletic shed at hand and you walk and you keep walking and you walk down the driveway and you take a left onto Green Hill Road and you get just before Mungertown Road. That's a half mile. Now you take that left onto Mungertown Road and you keep walking and you would go all the way down until you cross that overpass. And you just get across the overpass and there's Fort Path Road. That's 1 mile. Now you continue to walk all the way down until you hit Route 1, Boston Post Road. Just before you hit Boston Post Road, that's 1.5 miles. Now you take a right and you walk down Boston Post Road and you walk past the plaza and you walk past the Ford Hammonasset and you walk all the way down to Langdon Lumber and you go just past that. That is 2 miles. Now, I am not saying that this is a route that anyone would walk because of all the other rules in this, but I'm saying in the rain, in the humid heat, in the snow, in the sleet, in all of those conditions, that's a long way to walk. I'm done.
Just to add, and this is rows 88 through 91, I believe, if I'm looking at the right version. I've got the highlighted version here, so hopefully that's still the same. We did modify based on comment the K limit, which, you know, we talked about this, Diane, in committee, like no one's going to make a kindergartner walk a half mile to school. That's the craziest thing ever. But it's just sort of like the upper bound limit of what is even possible, with a bunch of other prohibitions in there. But I'll leave anything further to Jean Ann or others who want to comment about how we landed where we landed. But
well, basically, the policy really mirrors what the school accommodations, and it's not under special ed or anything. School accommodations are part of, out of the Office of Legal Affairs. They're part of a document that was crafted in 2008, and it really mirrors the transportation law. So as you stated, Diane, I think in your overview about your questions and your comment and that very good explanation of what it feels like or would look like to walk that distance in Madison, you have to make sure that there are none of these hazardous conditions. And in talking to Art about how students are scheduled for transportation, basically you don't really have anyone who's really a walker. There are students whose parents do allow them to walk and who do allow their children to ride bicycles. But basically you wouldn't have anyone walking because of all these hazardous conditions. Your roads, the width of the road, the sight lines, the speed of the road, the number of vehicles on the road really disqualify just about all of your roads. And I know just for myself, in the morning when I'm coming in and I'm behind buses, they practically stop at the end of every driveway.
And I think there's something to be said too for besides the state aspect of it. And I don't think this came up in committee, but just as I was reading this for the weeks that we've been looking at it, you know, say that there was suddenly like a planned community put right next to one of the schools or something like that, with full sidewalks to the school, and you know the farthest away unit in that community is like half a mile or a mile away for whatever reason, because it's spaced out or something like that, but it's fully walkable. Like, do you then have the conversation about something like that because it has none of the hazards that exist? Maybe, but like the policy is in some ways expected to last like for a decade, right? Before it, at least 6 years before we look at the policy again. So I don't know. I don't really have any strong feeling about the distances personally, but I get, you know, again, we talked a lot about this.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Was that an, Diane's opposed? Kathy, are you opposed? I couldn't tell. You came late. You're in favor? Opposed? And Happy is abstaining because she was not privy to the discussion. So motion carries. A motion to approve policy 5110.4, student discipline. Emily moved.
So moved.
I don't need a second. It came out of committee discussion.
Are we supposed to have a motion to waive the readings on this, or?
No, because we discussed it at the, yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
We'll get there.
All in favor? I'm sorry, discussion on pot discipline. All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Happy? Motion carries. No problem. I need a motion to approve policy 5090. Go ahead. So, oh, sorry, I skipped
Now you
it.
made it.
I see you. I got you. I need a motion to approve policy 5110.4, student discipline.
No, you just did that. Didn't we do that just now?
Oh, it's here twice. Hang on.
Now I feel like I'm being gaslighted.
No,
Student
I
dress.
read
Student
it.
dress.
I read it wrong. Yeah, student dress.
The student dress and student attendance, we need to vote on whether we're going to waive the readings before we can vote on the thing. So all you need is
Go for
want
it,
me to do
Greg. Take it away.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion to waive the readings for policy 5090.3.1 student dress. I will say again, as part of this motion, that the only change to this existing policy is the Shipman recommended information regarding COVID. Did I say that?
You got the wrong policy.
Am I doing the wrong one?
Yeah, because student discipline and student attendance, those are the ones that we're supposed to waive.
You're
And
right.
then transportation and student dresses was the third reading.
Okay, so I can go forward with student dress and then you'll take it over, Greg.
But did we just vote on student
We
discipline?
did. That's why I was
without
saying.
waiving? Yeah, we messed that up. Sorry. I thought they were in the other order. I misunderstood.
That's
This is
okay.
why meetings after 9 o'clock are no longer effective.
So,
Almost
well,
after 10.
I just blamed Happy because we were on a good track for an 8:30 meeting until she arrived, but we're gonna hold her to it. So the previous motion that was on the table was a motion to approve student discipline, additional action item, motion by Emily.
So we have-
Seconded by, I needed a second to waive the readings of policy 5110.4, student discipline.
That's probably fine. I will second to waive the readings, but we do need a completely separate vote, even
Right.
though it's after the fact and completely absurd.
And now I have that. I agree. But let's be
But
honest.
yeah, might as well do it.
So just to be clear, the waived readings, all in favor? Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Now I need a motion to approve policy 5110.4, student discipline.
So moved. Diane.
And we don't need a second. And I assume we don't need discussion since we discussed it. All in favor? Oppose? Abstain? Kathy, did you oppose? I have a lag time on you. Okay. Motion carries. Okay, so now we're on to action item number 12. I need a motion to approve policy 5090.3.1, student dress. Emily?
So moved.
Doesn't need a second discussion.
And so I have some questions. I'm sorry. Okay, so I noticed, I thank you for your work, policy committee. And I'm sorry that I am constantly, and now I'm giddy. Okay, so I noticed that in F, right, you had used the term, which are likely to disrupt the educational environment as deemed by administration. And so my nitpickiness is that if we could just use the same terminology for everything. So if you go under A, it would be, instead of just deemed disruptive, it would be, which are likely to disrupt the educational environment as deemed by administration. And then the same thing for, hold on. B, the head coverings would be also, which are likely to disrupt the educational environment as deemed by administration. Okay, and then, so then my question is C, footwear is completely listed separately, and wondering why it's different than attire or accessories as an E, because it's attire.
Answer some of that. Well, can I do that one first? I think the only reason that is separate at this point, Diane, is because the administration recommended that we remove the part that says Mars floors, and headwear is unlikely to mar the floor. So footwear had its own area initially. It is just a repetition. We could probably just strike it. Jan, do you have any issue with that?
No.
No. Okay. So let me do two things together here, because I think who made this motion? Emily? All right, Emily, you're on deck to say whether or not you're going to accept a friendly amendment to this motion in a minute. But the two friendly amendments would be, one, to strike C, which is row 16, And the other is throughout the document, and I don't think we have to specify, I think Jean-Ann and Wendy can probably just tackle this. If we could just use the exact same language over and over, if I'm understanding correctly, that's an F. Is that correct, Diane? Which are likely to disrupt the educational environment as deemed by administration. If that could just be consistent everywhere, I think that addresses your other question.
Yes.
So, and before I move that further, is that okay too? On your end?
You're talking to me, Greg? To accept
Jean-Ann,
your friendly
sorry.
amendment? Okay.
Sure, maybe there's a way to put it at the very beginning so you don't have to keep repeating it. I
Yeah.
mean, disruptive to the educational environment is needed because that's the test that you use whenever you have to go to a suspension or an expulsion.
Yep. Okay, so Emily, would you accept those two friendly amendments to this motion?
Yes, with pleasure.
There you go.
So my other comment would be that my one reluctance is about telling people what they can and cannot do or wear when they are in their own home via a virtual school day environment. And I understand, the reasoning when you're on screen to the whole class and everything, but it is a concern of mine because of when you're in your home as a student, I feel like you are under the jurisdiction, of your parents. But I get the whole school day thing, but I'm bringing that up.
And we talked about that, and I don't know that we need to go into it further because it's certainly an interesting point. It's just a matter of, this is another one of those situations, I think, where 6 years from now, if we're doing a lot of virtual learning still, do we look at that again? Possibly, because we've learned lessons, but right now they're kind of all the same thing in a way, right? Yeah, anyway, we talked about that too.
Go ahead.
I was going to add, I think we agree, Diane, that the parents would be responsible for their children at home. But I think if it's brought to the attention of an administrator, it can be addressed.
No pun intended on the student dress policy. All in favor? Opposed? Abstain. Happy's now voting. She's had time to read all of these policies during our discussion. I need a motion to approve a policy, and this is a tricky one, Greg, so keep an eye on me. Motion to approve policy 5113, student attendance. I need a motion to waive the readings of policy 5113, student attendance.
So moved.
So moved.
Emily, I need a second.
Second, Diane.
Diane.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Motion carries. I need a motion to approve policy 5113, student attendance.
So moved.
I don't need a second. Discussion.
Diane.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the September 22nd, 2020 Board of Education meeting.
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
I have a bunch of changes I'd like to make on the fly here.
Oh. Poor Wendy, don't do that to her. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Happy abstains. Motion carries. Any old business? Any future agenda items? Any meetings and dates of importance are attached. We now will relieve the members of the public to adjourn to executive session for the purposes of discussing concerning information contained in confidential documents related to strategy and negotiations with the MAA. AMA. It's late. It's late. Okay.
Do you need a motion to do that?
Thank you, Greg. I need a motion.
So moved, Diane.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right, motion carries. We're in executive.
How do we know that we're in executive?
Well, there's no attendees there, and so
We have people on here.
yeah.
Katie,
And everybody just be patient for a second.
Katie,
ahead.
let me just stop the recording if you can just give me 1 minute.
For sure, thank you.